Hello and welcome to the Watchdog Wire second weekly report as I move away from reading the terrible Clermont Sun on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock to just talking about stuff that I've covered in the last week. So thank you for joining me or for watching on replay. I'm going to go through, this is only the second time, so I'm trying to get a little more organized as to how I want to do this. If you have a comment or a chat comment when it's live, feel free to chat. If there's a question you have, I'll try to answer if anybody puts in a question. But let's talk about what I plan to cover. So I'll put all these links into the text relating to this video, so you can just click on them if you want to go to these things. I'm going to talk about the MILFORD women's wrestling program and Officer BOBB cases. And what seems to be a train wreck of cover-up at MILFORD schools in a dysfunctional board that puts what they believe is their reputation above the safety of students. West Clermont schools, I'm going to talk about them. And then I'm going to talk about updates on the CRONY Clermont GOP team. Lots of fun stuff there. And talk about Batavia Village a little bit. And then finally, Adams County. And I'm going to talk about Tilly the dog and then stuff for next week. So that's what I plan to talk about. And I'll probably get more polished at this over time, but I just thought, it'll be easier to try to get this stuff a little organized. So, and then along the way, I have one low light from the Clermont Sun that I'm going to hit on is part of this. So let's go. I'm going to start with talking about the MILFORD wrestling program and Officer BOBB. So let's get down what the situation is. So there's been allegations that an assistant coach named Tony Brothers in the women's wrestling program had inappropriate sexual contact or content with one or more women wrestlers. It actually, based on interview I did with Courtney Walls, was more than once that there were two different investigations. I don't believe anybody from the school system ever went to the police, which they are legally obligated to do when credible allegations come forward. And these allegations were coming forward from the coach of the team about an assistant coach. So it absolutely should have gone to the authorities immediately. So that's one thing. And the second thing is this Officer BOBB thing, which is a MILFORD, a Miami Township police officer who apparently was involved in an inappropriate relationship with a student while a resource officer at the school. So if you remember, this is the one where the one woman on the school board said that even if something happened, it wasn't their responsibility because Officer BOBB was not a school employee. He was a Miami Township police employee. That's how asinine these people are on the MILFORD school board. So the MILFORD Exempted Village School Board. So let's start with the Courtney Walls interview. So I did a interview with, I went to the wrong place. I did an interview with Courtney Walls, who was the coach of the women's wrestling program when this stuff happened. I believe both times when it came forward. So that interview is out there. It's almost 2 hours long. And so there's a lot of stuff on the record in there. Just as an aside,
and one or more women on the team.
So
I just got the
through just a little bit here.
Be there, like
so that's
because of the cliquishness of it or something, or the okay.
And I was like,
at the time
I always know how to protect myself. Okay, I'm going to take the proper steps to protect myself, like getting.
So what? So when they put you in over him and told you were younger, do you think that
stuff covered up? And so you can watch that almost 2 hour interview with him. I've offered to Tony Brothers to do an interview. He actually, through a third party, asked me to contact him, and I did. And I tried to ask him some questions just about to clarify a few of the points in the police report associated with this, which I believe was a cover up. And he goes silent. He's gone totally silent. My understanding is he's telling people that Courtney Walls lied. Well, I point out to Tony Brothers that if Courtney Walls has already done an interview with me, so Tony Brothers can watch that interview and he can refute the points. He can focus just on the points that he believes that Courtney Walls made that were inaccurate, incomplete, or in a false light. And I don't know why he wouldn't do that if he's been wrongly accused in the mix of these things. So that is one thing that's out there that I would encourage people to watch. Relating to the same thing, Kelly Feverston is the detective for Miami Township that did the report on this case. So I left a message for her to call me on September 12th because I wanted to clear up a particular item in the report. The report was heavily redacted, ridiculously redacted. Some of these times, these police places redact things so much that people could reach the wrong conclusions because there's so much that is redacted. But, when I look at it, this wasn't what I wanted to clear up with her, but she's never called back, because these people are unaccountable. These people have no accountability. They're just, I put it in vermin if you're a law enforcement person and you don't follow up with people. You're supposed to be a detective, Miss Feverston. But as far as I can tell from the report related to Tony Brothers, where she cleared him, she never got cell phone records of text or chats. And my understanding, I've had multiple informants come to me saying that there were a lot of late night calls with girls. I don't know if that's true or not, but you certainly would dump the phone records from the cell phone provider, like T-Mobile or Verizon or AT&T, from the bills just to see what if there were these things. Never subpoenaed Snapchat. A lot of the allegations were of inappropriate pictures on Snapchat. Never subpoenaed Snapchat. Never interviewed Courtney Walls, who was the one making the accusations. That's passes for police work. I don't think Kelly Feverston, based on that, she can call me back and explain, but she probably should never get a taxpayer paycheck again. We have got to, you can't accept mediocrity and bad performance on a part of law enforcement officers because you have trouble getting new ones. The bad ones, that's like saying we're not going to cap a pedophile priest because we need more priests. Okay. But she has never called back. So she's in a light for me of being basically vermin because I really have a dim view of people who are collecting a public paycheck that appear to do sloppy and unprofessional work and then won't stand behind their work. It's to me, that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Okay. So the next thing that happened this past week that I reported on was the Officer BOBB arrest. And I reported at about 5 o'clock on Monday, September 22nd. This is going to play back. So Officer BOBB was a school resource officer at MILFORD, at MILFORD schools, who appears to have had an inappropriate relationship with a student. It's allegation at this point. He's not actually arrested for that. He's arrested on other charges.
Of inappropriate sexual contact between a student and an SRO?
Not our employee.
So you don't. So if somebody that's not your employee comes into the school and rapes a student, you don't care because it's not your employee?
You are ridiculous.
You're ridiculous. But I love that you don't care.
I want to be clear. I'm absolutely not ridiculous because it could be statutory rape. Okay, so so this woman should not be on a school board. Should never collect a taxpayer paid paycheck. When her answer, I can't imagine being a parent in MILFORD and having a school board member, I think her name's Walls or something, that a school board member that says that if there's inappropriate sexual activity involving a student and a person who has access to the schools, like an SRO, it's not actually their problem unless the person is an employee. This is a disgusting woman. To make those statements. I got some grief about this, but there is a picture. Here's the picture. It's distorted, so you can't tell. That's Officer BOBB with this girl, okay, who is over 18 at the time of this picture, and this became a catalyst to some of this case. So you can go watch when I talk about Officer BOBB, and I'm going to come back to that relating to the sheriff's office. But I want to hit one other thing before I come back to the Officer BOBB thing. I also confronted Jeannie Berkeley, who was the HR person at MILFORD schools at the time that these things took place. So Jeannie Berkeley was and now she's landed at West Clermont. It's like,
were you aware that Andrew BOBB was arrested today?
She had issues.
Do you have any comment on Tony Brothers? Jeannie Berkeley was assistant superintendent for
now
HR.
She is a employee of West Clermont. And I confronted her about the Officer Bob. Did she know anything about it? And she just ran away from me. Okay. I'm telling you, people that run away, is you should always be suspicious of when they run away, because, you can go watch all the interviews I do, and I'm a fair interviewer. I don't do some hatchet job thing. But the people that run away, they're afraid because being asked straight up fair questions, they're going to look like idiots. And so that's another thing you can watch out there, is Jeannie Berkeley running away from me. Now, the next thing I wanted to hit on, and this is my Clermont Sun low light of the week. So the Clermont Sun, whose this edition would have been from Thursday. So it is, what's Thursday? The 25th would have been the date of this paper. The press deadline, the published press deadline for this paper is September 22nd, Monday. They used to say, it actually says it on one of their pages, September 22nd. It used to be September, it would have been this Tuesday, but it's Monday now because they don't print the paper in Clermont County anymore. So there's an article in the paper about Officer Bob. So I don't know when exactly, if it met the deadline. It was the 22nd, the same day as the arrest, from the Clermont County Sheriff's Office. This is disgusting, disgusting. This is what our founders feared. The government officials are writing their own news. I've bitched about this involving the prosecutor's office doing this. And this is the sheriff's office. This is Chris Stratton now doing this. So there's a story where there's no opportunity, and the Sun is great with this, no problem. There's no questioning of the sheriff about this case. There's no back and forth. And then it's this, by the way, this article is written like somebody in the prosecutor's office wrote it, which would show the complete capitulation of Chris Stratton to bend over to the prosecutor's office and the corrupt prosecutor's office. And, it's good. This investigation, I love this. This investigation, I'm going to come back and show you something about this. This investigation will be reviewed in its entirety with the Clermont County Prosecutor's Office for presentation to the grand jury. Okay, that Chris Stratton wrote that. His team wrote that. Okay. And then about some bullshit, it's written in the same formula as a prosecutor's office story. My office will pursue accountability without fear or favor. Oh, that's not true. Bullshit. Lie. Okay. Your office capitulates every time, Chris Stratton, to whatever the prosecutor says. So Greg Simpson gets off. People that steal people's identity, they get off because you don't have the balls to just charge the people and tell Colby to go F himself, that you're not going to play his political games. You've totally capitulated. Okay. If you disgrace the uniform by committing a crime, expect consequences. All right. Okay. You heard that. You should expect consequences. You should expect consequences. You know what's not in this article is that this was already the subject of a police investigation and report. Okay. So here it is. Here's the sheriff's office report that was closed on September 30th, 2024. This was not the first time that this came forward. Funny how Chris Stratton did not put that in the article, that my office previously investigated this and let the person walk. Okay. So this is the closed report from September 30th, 2024, from the sheriff's office. Okay. Sheriff's office. Never mentions that this already happened. Okay. Violating of protection order. The very thing that Officer Bob's now arrested for was already investigated previously. But let's make it more fun. Let's make it more fun here. Okay. It's going to be reviewed with the prosecutor's office. Here's the incident report from again, May 2023 is when the incident supposedly took place, reported May of 2023. But go down. Let's go down. All right, we're going to go down here, and there is a, hold on, let me find it. I sent 257 text messages that I believe were inappropriate to Lara Barron and Mark Tacalvi. The case, okay, this case will be closed. Here you go. Here you go, okay? 257 inappropriate text messages that were known then, were known back in And what did Lara Barron? Lara Barron bent over. Paychecks more important than your ethics or integrity. And Mark Tacolby didn't do anything. Okay, so now all of a sudden, Officer Bob's arrested, and there's going to be a complete review, but it was covered up previously. That is the way this works. Okay, what Chris Stratton failed to mention is that when these things come up, unless it's so bad they can't avoid it, they cover for each other. And to say that, disgracing a uniform, if you disgrace a uniform within a certain range, as we see by that Milford investigation, Miami Township investigation, there's no problem. The former state rep Tom Brinkman used to tell me that in the political class and the quote unquote public service class, they cover for each other unless it's so bad they can't. Okay. What happened here was a citizen came forward with a picture or the pictures, some additional evidence that made it too painful for them to avoid this. And all of a sudden, somebody gets arrested and we're all over it. And we're not going to let anybody disgrace the uniform. But that's funny how that wasn't the case, a year, in May of a while ago, okay, when it came up previously. All right. So so that's going to be my Sun highlight of the day. The other Sun highlight I want to give, hold on, I'm going to get down here because it's just so funny, is I love this great image right here of the Sun staff, Megan Alley. Now, Jake Dowling does a good job, but Megan Alley put their pictures next to an article that said The Trap of Low Expectations, which absolutely describes the Sun. Absolutely loaded, no expectations. And then look at this. I'm going to come back here to the front page of the Sun. The front page of the Sun, okay? Look at the shit on the front page. None of it it's almost not all news, okay? Tate Township seeks input. Okay, wow. I thought we already had that once, that article. Then we have another article on here on the right, running for office, do a survey. Okay, early voting is going to start. Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe after the election and get this out. And then there's one article about Batavia Fun Fest. It's submitted by Batavia Village. Okay. And then this police officer story. So there's basically nothing on the front page. The front page is basically a nothing burger. All right. So that's it for the Sun for today. All right. So let's go back. That's all on Milford Wrestling and Officer Bob. And I'm going way over time. I'm going to go over time just so you know if you're watching this. I try to when I have 30 minutes, but now by organizing stuff, it'll make me talk more. Let's talk about West Clermont Schools. So I went for West Clermont Schools. It's idiotic the way this is set up. It's set up that West Clermont Schools, you can bring guns into their meetings. If your student is coming in for counseling at their offices, guns, the whole building is a gun zone. Plus you have the open drinking in the parking lot 365 days out of the year. It's all stupid as hell. It's Michael Logue, Union Township trustees, Joe Dales, John Becker, stupid shit that they did at the Civic Center. But the school system is too, bent over to basically raise a stink about it. And so they got this dumb thing. So I offered to buy beers for people in the parking lot before the school board meeting. That got basically rained out because it was just pouring rain. I went over there. I tried to figure out a way to do this, but the rain was just a mess. So that's West Clermont. But I went to the West Clermont board meeting. Another thing you can go out and watch in the weekend review is me trying to interview school board members. So they of West Clermont, and they all just run away. They won't do interviews. They are I don't know. They have. This school district has been, for most of the history of me living in Union Township, a mess, a complete mess. There was a brief light when they worked with Ken Geis and ended up getting a new high school and new buildings without a tax increase. And then in 2020, with Natasha Adams, they got a levy passed, which they all pretty much never do. And now they're back exactly in the shithole. They are back. They lost a ballot measure by 83% to 17% in May. 83%, as somebody told me, that means even the liberals voted against it. And so, but then none of them were interviewed. Ryan Patton appears. I'm going to talk at the end about Tilly the dog, one of my best friends that left us this week. But Tilly was as smart as most of these people. Tilly could have run the schools better than these. So they refuse interviews. And then what's so funny is you've got then these guys that are these three incumbents, like the Three Stooges, Ryan Patton, Jim Rudy, and Michael Chumley, are running as a team and calling themselves CPR for, I guess, Chumley, Patton, and Ryan. Rudy, Chumley, Patton, and Rudy. Okay. And this is probably who should not vote for. So these guys have put the school district into cardiac arrest. And now the incumbents are running that they're going to do CPR on the schools because they're in cardiac arrest because of who? Them. These people, and not to mention Ryan Patton is a Michael Logue sycophant. He runs away. Jim Rudy's a liberal Democrat, and Chumley's a guy who can't do his petitions right, got appointed to the board, and after he messed up his petitions, and I guess is a libertarian. He sought endorsement one time as a libertarian. And so what are these guys running together for? It just shows you uniparty, what happens when you get total uniparty. So that's them running as CPR. And I just want to highlight, because I just think it's funny, is Ryan Patton. This is a video from back in August. And Ryan Patton running from an interview. Okay, let's go here. Clermont School Board, who, while wearing a Vote for Ryan Patton shirt at a community event, refused to take questions.
Yes. No, you're here. You're wearing a campaign shirt. Okay, so this is a campaign event. This is a public event. You're on.
So Ryan Patton won't take questions at a community event wearing a Ryan Patton for School Board t-shirt. Won't take. This guy is a ficus. I hear about like him in the sheriff's office and so forth, but he's a school resource officer or something in there. But this guy's president of the school board and he can't take a question. He cannot take a question. That's the key point. If you were to sit down and do an interview with him, I'm willing to, I would like him to do it. I would like him to do an interview and demonstrate that he could actually do an interview and answer reasonable questions, reasonable questions that I want to ask him about the direction of the school district. All right, I'm going to close down a lot of these things that were already open. Let's keep rolling. So that's West Clermont schools, hiring somebody from Milford that's got issues, won't take questions. Let's have some quick CRONY Clermont GOP team updates from this past week. So Linda Fraley, once again, running from being asked what Greg Gentile's job is. Here she is. I just happened to be going to the school board meeting and there was Linda Fraley walking around. So I asked her and she runs away again. And then you've got Greg Gentile, her handpicked successor, who is in a complete made-up bullshit job in the auditor's office part-time, has no experience, zero experience, no connections, and is now being championed by people like Ralph Villardo from Milford. Ralph, what's wrong with you, dude? What is wrong with you? Okay. When you play all sides, Ralph, people start to notice that you play all sides. So that is Linda running again, and this is Greg Gentile. He's cousins to Michael Logue, and he answers questions like Michael.
Stay, Chris.
And
listen.
It's none of our business, but Greg Gentile's plaintiff. Can you test any change, any priority? What is your plan?
None of your
what are you
business.
going to change?
No,
it's none of my business.
No
I love
comment.
it. It is none of our business what Greg Gentile's plaintiff. Can you tell the voters, what's your 30-second pitch for voters? Why Greg Gentile?
No thanks, Chris.
That's your pitch. No thanks, Chris?
Have a nice day, Chris.
And Linda wanted.
So this guy's like, complete ficus. Remember, he got fake endorsed by the Bikers for Trump and then unendorsed by the Bikers for Trump. Fake unendorsed there. So that's Fraley. Zoomerly is spouting off about me on some post, the treasurer. Let's remember, Jeannie Zoomerly lost a First Amendment lawsuit to me. She is a very interesting and bizarre crony person. And he thinks he's smarter than everyone else. He knows what's best for all. He also never tells the whole story. Well, I would love her to say where I never told the whole story. Why doesn't she? Jeannie Zoomerly, I will let you interview me. Why don't you interview me, Jeannie? You can get together with your bud David Painter, and you can interview me and point out to me and ask me questions about the stories where I have not told the whole story. It's amazing that none of these people will do that. I offered again and again. Why don't they put the kill shot in me? Why don't they show everybody how I'm not telling the whole story? I'm not telling the truth. They can't. They can't. Okay. And another update on the CRONY system is the committee that I covered this week. The committee for the protecting the good name of the party, which was a witch hunt McCarthy type thing. That is canceled. That is not happening now because they wanted to basically use it to embarrass and humiliate somebody who's not a prominent political person in Clermont County, but had done things like go to the sheriff when Greg Simpson was threatening me. And you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do the right thing when it involves me. And that's what they wanted to do. But then I immediately started highlighting, oh, great, let's have this committee. And here's 15 other things we can investigate. Like, for example, that one of the prominent people on the Central Committee has a son who, when he was 36 years old, was living at home with mom and dad, trying to get somebody to rape and burn his 4-year-old daughter, and having tons of child porn or distributing child porn, and at whose house there was a federal child porn raid. Okay, let's cover that too. As long as we're gonna clean things up, let's cover, and we're gonna go after people who aren't even in office on this committee. Let's go talk about James Kidwell. Let's do all these. And so I had like 15 different things, and that caused, I think, the committee to go away because they're full of crap, and I'll go ahead and investigate those things now. So I thank them for bringing me the idea. And then the last thing on the Clermont County, the Clermont CRONY GOP team is David Painter, Dancing Diamond Dave Painter, JCPenney suit separates. He, look at how much he talks about me. Like his last 2 posts on his campaign Facebook page are about me. And he just made this post today that is about me and news outlet. News outlets, there are all not the same. Not good at English. I can't fold. I make a lot of typos. And if news outlets, so it should be they are all not the same. Not there are all not the same. But he feels some reason to have like walk away. No, most people don't walk away from me, David Painter. Okay, why do they walk away? You walk away, David Painter, because you can't answer questions. And when you get interviewed by anybody, you look like a clown. Okay, prove me wrong, David. Prove me wrong. You cannot prove me wrong. Okay, it says no thanks. I will always walk away from Mr. Hicks. By the way, it's HICKS'. You learn in like 4th or 5th grade that when you make the possessive of a word that ends in S, you don't put apostrophe S or S apostrophe S. You just put the apostrophe at the end. Okay, maybe learn that, Dave. And okay. And he's got who they want to interview with. There's nothing illegal about elected officials picking who they want to interview with and who they don't. It's all about trust and good reporting. No, you want people that are going to report only what you want them to report, like the Clermont Sun. Okay, and he says he's going to stay with the local news teams I trust. Who is that? Who are the local news teams you trust? So you trust corporate media? You trust what? Yeah, I've never seen you do a real interview with anybody, Diamond Dave. Nobody cares to do an interview with you. So it's just so funny. And I'm going to pop back and I'm going to go to something that I don't have linked on this, and I'm going to pop over. One person, Diamond Dave, that has not, let me see if I don't screw things up here, who has never run away from me, and is, let's get to it here. The congressman, David Taylor, our congressman, has always taken questions from me every single time. Okay, and you can go watch those interviews. So David Painter, if I'm so bad, such you got to run away. Why does the congressman? I mean, David Painter, you probably think you could be a congressman. Michael Logue probably thinks he could be a congressman, but you guys run away. Okay, the actual congressman, he never runs away. Okay, and we always have, I think, pretty good dialogue back and forth in interviews. I would encourage people to go watch some of those because I respect that David Taylor always talks to me. If I see him at an event, we'll always take questions. That's what you should do. Now, David Painter was, it's not illegal for me not. No, it's not illegal for you not to take questions, Dave. It's also not illegal for the press to keep pursuing you, and that you make yourself look like an idiot. You Uble yourself. You go ahead and Uble yourself. And that also happens when you use your staff for political activities on the taxpayer dime. Okay, that is against the law, David Painter. All right, so I'm already over time. Okay, but Batavia Village, let's hit Batavia Village. I'm almost to the end, I hope. Okay, and so Batavia Village, it's so funny. There's a bunch of blowhards around Batavia Village. Okay, and that don't actually live there, that are some of the most vocal people. A guy named William Albright, the lunatic with a truck, that drives around in a truck, okay, and that looks like scary, like your kids would be afraid to go to Batavia Village because the lunatic in a truck, and then basically yells at people and harasses them in the streets in a very threatening and menacing manner. He's done it twice to me, okay? He's going to kick your ass, that kind of stuff, okay? You better walk away. You better walk away. That kind of stuff. Things that are meant to intimidate. A loon. Okay. And then you got this guy Joe Pat Fisher. They're both very vocal. So I did a video on what is the vision, because these people, I don't get them. Okay. But what's the vision for Batavia Village? And I go in this video, I go to let's see, I'll probably go to the wrong place, but I go to Loveland. Okay, and point out like, why isn't Batavia Village? Why isn't there a vision for Batavia Village to be a mini Loveland? Okay, it could be. Give me a reason for my wife and I to drive down the hill from Union Township to come there, walk around, have a few drinks, have something to eat. Make it interesting, and that's what it should be. But I don't know how these people think you get there. I don't think they want to get there. I think basically a lot of these people that are blowhards, they become useful idiots to people like Linda Fraley and so forth that don't want Batavia Village to be successful. They want Batavia Village to be a backwater that is unsuccessful, and they want to protect the interest of people in Batavia Township, the rich people that think they're the hub of the county. And so I have challenged William Albright and Joe Pat Fisher to do interviews with me, and also offered that if they'll do interviews with me, they're very critical of me, I'll do interviews with them, and they can interview me and ask me any question that they want. I'm open book. I don't care about any question, but the price of that is do an interview with me, answer some questions. Okay, let's talk about it. They don't. I mailed them things asking them for an interview. I haven't heard back from either of them. So, I think they're probably afraid to do that. So they're probably afraid to do interviews with me. So that's the reality. Let me shut down some of the stuff again. I keep opening up more stuff. And then let's come back here. And the next thing is Adams County. So it says Jones, but this says Kelly Jones. I put out a thing on Adams County about Kelly Jones potentially lying in the interview with me. I believe that he lied to me about never taking his helicopter up with passengers without a licensed pilot on board. So Kelly Jones is not a fully licensed pilot. He admitted that in the interview. He's a student license. He cannot fly passengers. He could fly alone by himself, or he could fly with a licensed pilot with passengers. But the video, if you follow this, is what very much appears to be him taking. I've got like 2 or 3 like this, where he appears to be taking somebody for a ride on the helicopter without having a other pilot on board. Okay. And so that is illegal. And he denied doing that in an interview with me. So that's the reality. He denied a bunch of other stuff in an interview with me. And by the way, Kelly Jones also told me that he wanted me to come back and do some tour, but he's not followed up with me. I don't know. I guess I could call into the commissioners. I don't have Kelly Jones' direct contact information, but he has mine. I've given it to him several times, so he can call me anytime he wants or text me or whatever, like do this tour he wants to do. But he has not done that. Okay. And then on the Aaron Haslam stuff, we're waiting on the Supreme Court. Okay. And, 4 of the 7 justices recused. They got the case. I was so funny. There were people bitching at me like, how come you're not doing more Adams County? First, I don't live in Adams County. Let's get that straight. And I was involved. I've been involved in Adams County because of Haslam coming into Clermont County on a special prosecutor deal. And so Haslam, the week when people were like, "Why aren't you doing more?" I had spent like 30 hours working on legal briefs associated with Adams County and this Haslam thing. So it's like, okay, give me a break. Now this morning, I'll click on this, but you can go read all the briefs. But the docket system for the Supreme Court was not working this morning. So I'll click on it. It's probably not going to come up because the whole system wasn't working. But there's links. You can go read all the court filings associated with this particular case. All right. So the last thing I wanted to hit on is one of my best friends ever, Tilly the dog, left us this week. This is her last picture. So she was having a lot of trouble with panting, but she's got other issues. Her rear end was going out. She can't hear. If you look here, you can see one of her eyes was all glazed over. I love Tilly, but one of my best friends ever. Probably the best pet we've ever had. And my wife and I have pretty much always had dogs and cats. And we were deeply, deeply, deeply miss Tilly the dog. And has nothing to do with reporting, but it was just something that was important to me this week and important to my wife. And Tilly deserves a little eulogy. Okay, so what do I want to do in the week ahead? So in the week ahead, I want to do. I'm hoping, I've been trying to do that where I could do an interview, and they seem to want to. They said they want to do it, but with Braxton and Braden Gaffin, and then an interview at Chillicothe jail prison with Kevin Gaffin. I'd like to get this rolling, okay? And so I think they want to do it. I don't know what the slow up is. I've asked Braden and Braxton to highlight what they think are 3 or 4 things in the trial where I put the trial video out online that were examples of the horrifically bad defense that was put on for Kevin Gaffin. But I hope to do that. We'll see if there's a Haslam result come out this week. And then I have a suit against the Clermont County Republican Central Committee who suspended me, and I need to do an appeal for that. So those are some of the things that in the upcoming week I will be covering. All right, so let's see where we are on time. So that is the Watchdog Wire Week in Review for September 27th, 2025. And maybe I need to trim it down when I go, and maybe there'll be some weeks I don't have as much stuff that I cover, and it can be simpler. But I'm going to put all the links that I just went through. I'll put them in the text on this post with this video, so you can go at one post, go get an update on all the key things that I thought were important this week to be covered on the Watchdog Wire.